आज गणतंत्र दिवस के शुभ अवसर पे मुझे बड़ा गर्व हो रहा है कि G20 जैसे महोत्सव की मेजबानी भारत को मिली है. Respected judges, fellow dignitaries, organizing committee, fellow comrades, parents, I, Romil Zaveri, on behalf of Shri Vile Parle ke Lavani Mandal's Jitendra Chauhan College of Law, must critically evaluate when the Prime Minister of 1 billion citizens makes such a statement. Is he addressing the upper echelons of society, which will travel in the Volvo bus and reach JW Marriott in Delhi? Or is he addressing the India where students are yet struggling to cope with English and where a young professional has to travel 4 hours due to lack of infrastructure to reach his workplace? Let's rewind a little bit to understand that G20 is a group of countries that meet on economic cooperation. In simple words, when Saudi Arabia hosted the presidency of the G20, it is pertinent to note that not a single women representative was on the dais or on the panel of leaders on any of the programs. Further, it is critical to understand that not even a developed economy like Australia had a women leader on its panel. And only because the Chancellor of Germany was a woman leader, Angela Merkel, was their women representation. So as youth, I put forth these suggestions which must be taken with an absolute urgency. Number one, a minimum of 20% of women representation at G20 leadership. Number two, this year's slogan for G20, which we have developed, is Vasudeva Kutumbakam, but which literally means that all living beings are one family. This on paper sounds brilliant, but as we've seen in the Saudi Arabia presidency in the past, there was no clear representation of women, so that needs to be enacted on paper. Secondly, the other problem is that youth today would read up Sanskrit or would recite Sanskrit only on select occasions like today. Otherwise, all we are concerned as youth is like, follow, subscribe, share, and comment, which is why Vasudeva Kutumbakam needs to be implemented all across all the other host countries, as all the other countries other than the host country. Thirdly, last year in 2022, when the G20 met at Bali, there was a growing divide between geopolitical, territorial, and other issues. And anyways, high-income and low-income countries are being divided. So this was a critical analysis, and this was the past. Now I'll move on to the present, because as youth, we must understand that we cannot be prisoners of the past, and that no system is good or bad. We need to make it work for us. So if we are having a tough situation at our jobs, we can't keep switching jobs every 2 years. Moving on to the present, given the Russia-Ukraine conflict which emerged in 2022, given the geopolitical scenario, given how countries are becoming more protectionist and nationalist, India's G20 presidency is therefore crucial, not because of a photo op, not because of the Lotus logo in the G20 which is creating controversy, not because of XYZ number of statistics, and not because universities are being tied up, and not because the city of Mumbai has been lit up with so many floodlights and streetlights for the G20, but because right now we find ourselves at a culminating point, at a crossroads in terms of economic cooperation, geopolitics, and global trade. So what are the good aspects of the G20? One is the Sherpa's track, which do not focus on financial aspects, they focus on non-economic aspects, they shadow the leaders, they meet informally. And the other good aspect is that there is no one particular headquarter or office or representation of the G20, which means that the chances of bias get lowered. And therefore, one of the strong points and one of the key victories that have emerged in G20 is that Indonesia, in the past year, has agreed to reduce its emissions. Indonesia is blessed with natural resources, from greenery to natural minerals like sulfur. But are they really implementing this? So those were the good points about G20, which were the present. Now let's also talk about the future. In 2024, as a youth, I would put forward a suggestion that we want more representation from the African Union, because of the skew of balance towards developed economies like the European Union. And 2025, we would like to see whether the G20 is actually going through an existential crisis. What is the report card since its inception in 1998, and all the other statistics put aside, 85% of trade, 75% of business, etc., put aside. It's important for us youth to understand that hope forges the heart into steel. And this was mentioned by Ludwig van Beethoven, and no nationality is taken into consideration when we talk about youth and when we talk about a collaborative effort and a collaborative world. So with that, I'd like to conclude in our Prime Minister's style, and on this special occasion of Republic Day, I offer my debt of gratitude to the Forum of Free Enterprise for allowing me to express my thanks to the nation. Jai Hind, Satyamev Jayate.